Hello everyone, it's me, Ariel Goodbody. Today I want to talk about 5 things I've learned from being disabled. So last month I did a video about autistic catatonia, which is my disability, I guess. I will put the link for the video about autistic catatonia in the description below. So first, let's just talk a bit about what it means to be disabled, because some people might look at me, they might listen to me and say, but you're not disabled. Traditionally, there are 2 models, 2 systems for understanding disability. There is the medical model and the social model. Basically, the medical model says you are disabled if you are told by a doctor that you are disabled and you have a health problem that can maybe be treated with maybe medicine or a wheelchair or other things. The social model of disability says that it isn't illness or different things about our bodies that make us disabled. It is society that makes us disabled. Basically, disabled people just have different things about them. It might be that their brain works differently or their body works differently, but because society does not accommodate these things, society does not make it easy to live with these things, therefore this person is disabled. And when you think about it, it kind of makes sense. If you have to use a wheelchair, it could be difficult to get around. But if you live in a society where there are wheelchair ramps everywhere, where you can go everywhere in a wheelchair, then you wouldn't really be disabled because you would be able to go everywhere like everyone else. Similarly, for me, with being autistic, having ADHD, and even with the autistic catatonia, if I lived in a society where I didn't have to worry about work, I didn't have to worry about talking, it wouldn't be a problem. I wouldn't feel disabled. But the truth is, I am disabled. You know, my experience of autistic catatonia means that there are things I'm expected to do, but I can't do, right? At least some of the time. Because sometimes I seem very normal to other people. Sometimes I really don't look disabled. And then there are other times in public where I can't talk or I can't move normally, and then I look crazy or disabled or whatever. And, you know, along with the medical model of disability, a lot of people think that disability is either something you have all the time or you're not disabled. But really, based on my own experience, you know, I've known quite a lot of disabled people. This isn't usually the case. Even people who have physical disabilities, like they use wheelchairs, often they have days where they can move more and days where they can't move as much. Someone might use a wheelchair not because they can never walk, but because it takes a lot of energy to walk. So they have to save their energy because they don't have the energy to walk all day, for example. So last month I made that video about autistic catatonia, and it's actually been 1 month since I made the video while I am recording this, which is kind of crazy because I've basically just spent the last month resting. I really have just been resting and recovering. So mainly I've been playing video games and reading books. My favorite video game, which I have played a lot of, is The Sims 2. The Sims 2 is a bit of an old game, and there are newer Sims games, but The Sims 2 is definitely my favorite. I think it is a fantastic game. And I have spreadsheets where I plan stuff in my game. I'll just show you some random pictures from my gameplay while I talk. I've also been playing a lot of a game called Slay the Spire, which is a card game, but you don't play it with other people. You're building a deck, a collection of cards that you use to fight enemies in this game. And then for the reading, I've been reading a lot of Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett was a really, really famous British fantasy author, and he wrote this very well received Discworld series, and I only actually started reading his books a few years ago, but I love his stuff now, and I'm trying to read the whole series. And speaking of long series, I've been reading more of Animorphs. If you watched my video about books that I recommended in 2022, I made a video a few months ago where I talked about books I recommended that I read in the year 2022. I talked about Animorphs in that video, and I recommended Animorphs because it's got a very good, easy language level for learners. So definitely go to the description below. There will be a link to the video about the books I recommend, and definitely try Animorphs because it's really good. It is for children, but it is very good, and the language is so easy. So yeah. So you probably know that last year I had this period where I couldn't speak for 3 months and I rested a lot, right? And it's kind of similar to now. I've had this long rest period. I think I am recovering though. I am definitely getting better because I have the energy to make this video, for one thing. But this time it was quite different because before I stopped all my work and basically just rested for a really long time. But this time has been quite complicated because I have been traveling and I had to, deal with the catatonia while I traveled, which was a new thing. I had some catatonic episodes in public. I couldn't move and I had to get help from people. So that was quite scary, quite frightening. And then I've also been doing a bit of work with the podcast between all of the video games. So yeah, I've had a lot of time to kind of think about my place in the world, think about being disabled and, the balance I have to find. I would love to do more side projects. I would love to write more, to do more work on the podcast. I would love to, answer all of the emails that you send me, because some of you send me really lovely emails. But unfortunately, I have to be very careful with my energy. Right now I have to save my energy. And then when I have that period again, when I have lots of energy, I'll be back. So yeah, I decided to talk a bit about 5 things I've learned from being disabled, because people, think that being disabled is a very negative thing. And obviously it's not good, right? Ideally, we would live in a world where I wasn't disabled, where society could fully accommodate my needs. But I don't know. A while ago, I was looking up articles about what you can learn from being disabled, and I found one that said, when you're disabled, you have to do lots of paperwork, like you have to talk to lots of doctors and keep records and, fill out these big government forms to get financial assistance. So being disabled teaches you really good administrative skills. And I just thought that was horrible. I thought that was so terrible because it's like, even when you're too disabled to be able to work, like you can't work, it's like, oh, but you can still fill out all these forms and keep all these records, and that's somehow a good thing? I don't know. So I was thinking today about that article, and I thought, you know what? Let me talk about 5 positive things I've learned from being disabled. Because recently I've really felt very positive about it, even liberated. I felt freed, and I'll explain a bit more. So the first thing I've learned is body minds. So traditionally, especially in the West, but I think now around the whole world, we talk about the body and the mind, right? And we separate the two. And we have this idea that the mind can fully control the body. Like if we are sick, we can just push through and keep working. And if we don't want to do something, we can just push through and do it. And if we're really tired from exercising too much, we can just push through and exercise a bit more. Do you see the pattern here? It's always about pushing through and not listening to our body. And when we separate the mind and the body like this, it's very unhealthy because we learn to ignore the signs our body gives us. So many people say things like, oh, I'm really sad today and I don't know why. Oh, I have these awful headaches and I don't know why. Oh, I've been sleeping really badly recently and I don't know why. And honestly, the answer is usually very simple. The answer is usually emotional, right? There are feelings in your life that you have been ignoring. There are things making you anxious. And if you think your mind is separate from your body, then you won't understand where those feelings are coming from. So this idea of a body mind is basically saying, no, body and mind are the same. We cannot separate them. And I think it's really great because it helps us understand a lot of things. For example, you know, I love playing video games. It's great that I can do that on my computer. It's great that I can watch TV shows and stuff. But these experiences, they're just one thing. They're just visual, right? You just watch them. Although video games you do interact with. But it's not a full body experience. And as humans, it's really important for us to have full body experiences like, you know, really intense exercise or swimming in the sea or going to a concert. These full, oh my God. There is a plane. So near where we live, they fly planes for the army because it's not a very populated area. Not many people live here. And that plane was so close. It looked about this big, but out of the window. So it was probably about 50 meters away. Like that plane was really close. Okay, well, I'm alive for now. Anyway, yeah, it's important to have these full body experiences. Okay. Number 2, I've learned how to stop apologizing for my body mind. Mostly. What I mean by this is if I can't meet a deadline, if I can't do some work because I can't talk, or I'm too tired to get out of bed, or my body can't move, and therefore I can't go to the shop, I can't cook, I can't do the laundry. In the past, I would have apologized. Oh, I'm sorry I can't do this. But now I say, I can't do this because I am too ill, or I'm too tired, or I can't talk. And I might say, for example, my apologies for the inconvenience. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, because it is inconvenient for the other person that they thought this was going to happen and it didn't, right? I feel bad about the inconvenience, but I'm not sorry about myself. I don't think I should feel bad because my body mind couldn't do something based on some deadline, right? Our bodies need what they need. So I'm trying to apologize less, to be honest. And in a way, it was much harder in the past, but now my disability makes itself pretty clear. Like, if I can't talk, I can't talk. I can't record a podcast episode if I can't talk. Should I apologize for that? No, because I literally can't do it, right? So yeah, it's like a fish should apologize because it can't fly, you know? Number 3, I've learned that my productivity does not equal my self-worth. So productivity means being able to produce things, make things. Productivity is like the word of the 21st century. Everything is about productivity, right? There are thousands of articles out there about how to be more productive, how to do more things, how to focus better, how to plan, how to stop procrastinating. Obviously, I can't be productive all the time. I can't be productive a lot of the time because I'm disabled. And capitalism, the system we live in, teaches us that if you are productive, then you are worthy, right? You have self-worth. You are important. And therefore, if you are disabled and you can't be productive, then you're lazy and you should try harder. So it's really hard to believe this and to understand this, but I do fully believe that productivity does not equal self-worth. Equal means is the same as, right? Like the equal sign that we use in mathematics. Productivity does not equal self-worth. You are not a more worthy person. You are not a more important person because you are more productive. And you are not a less important person because you are not productive. And that's something I've really felt recently. Because when you're disabled, it's so easy to blame yourself and to feel like you're a bad person and that you could just try harder. But I genuinely just don't do that anymore. I just don't care. The 4th thing I've learned is the 3 different kinds of rest. When we talk about rest, we're so simple with it. But rest has so many different forms. People talk a lot about self-care, but when we think of self-care, you know, we just think of individual things like taking a bath, eating nice food, going to bed early, brushing your teeth, right? I would kind of generally say there are 3 kinds of rest. So there's active rest, which is doing things that take energy, but they make you feel better in the long term. For me, that's socializing, meeting new people, going clubbing and dancing a lot. These are things I really love and they do give me a lot of energy, but if I don't have the energy to start with, like now, because I'm catatonic, I can't do that active rest. Actually, even taking a hot bath for me is a form of active rest because I find it takes a long time to prepare because our water goes cold really quickly. So I have to like run the hot water, wait for half an hour and then run it again. So it takes a long time. And then the hot water feels amazing, but it's really tiring to adjust to it. Like it takes a lot of energy from me. So that is active rest for me, but it feels really good. Then a second kind of rest I would say is like special interests. So special interests is what people say to talk about the very intense and specific interests that autistic people have, like me. The Sims 2 is one of my special interests. The video game I mentioned earlier. but I think more generally just hobbies, right? And hobbies that have an active element to them. So this is kind of similar to active rest, but this might be things like knitting or sewing or baking, cooking, playing video games that have a lot of planning in them, lots of things. Yeah. I think it's different from active rest because for me, it's usually something I do by myself and it doesn't take a lot of energy, right? So for me, actually baking and cooking would be active rest because it does take energy, but The Sims 2 it takes a bit of energy, but it gives me so much more energy. And then the third kind of rest is full, complete, deep rest. And to me, this literally means lying down, closing the curtains, maybe covering my eyes, not listening to music, not listening to a podcast, not watching TV, literally just lying down and closing my eyes. You could call it napping, right? But often I don't sleep when I do this. Sometimes I am so tired that reading a book takes too much energy. Having all the lights on takes up too much energy. Watching TV is too much energy. I just need that full, deep rest. And honestly, in the last week, I've had several times where I was so tired and then I just rested for like 20 or 30 minutes and I felt so much better. And this is something that people don't do very often. People are encouraged to feel lazy if they nap or rest like this. But I think everyone should rest like this. I think people should nap at work, in their lunch break, if they want to. I've napped in parks. Now that can be a bit dangerous. I think it's fine. If you have a rucksack, a backpack, what I do is I take the straps, the bits that go over here, I put them around one arm and I put the bag next to me and then I sleep so that if someone tries to take it, it will pull on my arm, for example. I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's crazy to sleep in a park. But when I told my friend, she was like, "You slept in a park in the day? Are you crazy?" And I was like, I think it's fine. And the fifth thing that being disabled has taught me is how to be content with life. Content means happy, but it's that kind of simple happiness where not everything is perfect, but you're just okay. You're at peace with the world. You're not sad, basically. And, it is very easy to feel sad and depressed when I have these catatonic periods, because I often can't go outside, I can't socialize, I can't do much work. And it can be really difficult to just be okay with that and to be happy. And this is something that I definitely couldn't do so well last year. But this past month, I've just felt so content. I've just felt, you know what, I can't do work, I can't go outside right now. All I'm doing is just playing video games and reading books, and I am completely fine with that. I think my life is wonderful. I'm looking forward to going and socializing lots in the future. I'm looking forward to going outside and spending more time in nature. I'm looking forward to cooking and baking and all of those things. But for now, I'm just content. Honestly, I think the biggest thing that's given me that contentedness is journaling. I write in my diary, I journal pretty much every day. And it really helps just get all of those negative feelings out there and to really understand what's going on in here. So anyway, those are the 5 things I've learned from being disabled. I would love to hear your thoughts. You can write in the comments. Maybe you've learned similar lessons in your own life. I would love to hear. Please do leave a comment. Subscribe as well, because I make these videos every month and I think they're pretty good. And if you click the little bell, then you will get a notification whenever I make a video. So I'm really glad I can be open about this stuff now. You know, last year I wasn't ready, right? I really had to hide from the world and really just take a long time for myself. But I don't want to hide my disability now. I'm back in the world, I'm making podcasts, I'm making videos, and I don't always want to show you the perfect Ariel, right? I don't always want to show you me with loads of energy talking about crazy fun things, you know. Sometimes there's that other side to me, and they're all important parts of me. So yeah, thank you all for your support. I do really appreciate how many wonderful listeners I have. I get such lovely comments from you. You know, I'm very lucky because a lot of people who make videos and podcasts online, they get a lot of negative comments. People have expectations, and if they don't meet the expectations, then the fans don't like them anymore. But honestly, my listeners are like the loveliest people. You are fantastic, so thank you. And there was something else, but I forgot, and it doesn't matter. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next month. Bye.